I'm a collaborative research scientist here at the Social Science Division, and I work on climate change, agriculture, and food security. And part of the responsibilities and activities I'm involved with is to link CGIAR scientists, including those here at IRRI, with food security systems, actors outside of the CG system, such as the Food and Agriculture Organization. And today, we're very fortunate to have Seeva Ramaswamy, who is the Food Security Statistician at the regional office of the FAO for Asia, which is based in Bangkok. Seeva's worked for the FAO Statistics Division for 10 years in Rome, and prior to that, he was a statistician in his home country of Mauritius for many years. It looks like 25 years or something like that.
Exactly.
So he's highly experienced. His area of expertise is in the analysis of household expenditure data from household income expenditure surveys or living standards measurement surveys for the purpose of calculating the prevalence of undernourishment. Now, undernourishment is the proportion of the population that consumes less than a minimum daily energy requirement. So that is the global definition of hunger adopted by the Millennium Development Goals. The prevalence of undernourishment is the only Millennium Development Goal which is related to agricultural activity or requires ag data as inputs. It is a complex indicator, and yet the outcome affects allocation of resources at national level and even at global level. So he's here as part of his visit. He's explaining the concepts behind this indicator, the concepts of food security that relate to it. He's providing training on software to the IRRI Social Science Division staff, the software that is used to calculate this indicator. And lastly, he's looking to explore ways for collaborating with IRRI on projects to calculate the prevalence of undernourishment and evaluate the food security statistics of 6 countries. He's recently completed studies in 3 countries, Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos. And the proposal is for the ongoing activity to do so in Philippines. And we have with us Emma, who is a representative of the National Statistics Office of the Philippines, based in Bulacan, but previously with the national office. And she's also had experience working on this using the FICE data, or Family Income Expenditure Survey data from 2003. In addition to the Philippines, Cambodia and Laos, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka are the other countries among the 6 that are envisioned for collaboration. So now I'm going to let Seeva continue his project of educating us about the food security policies and data. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. You're using a big word, educating. I'm not educating anybody. I'm just sharing my skill and knowledge with you, and it's a two-way traffic. By the way, it's a two-way traffic. Like we use it? So Michael was a bigger voice than me. Yes, what I was saying, I'm here to share ideas. Maybe we can get, it's a two-way traffic, and get your ideas and how we can move further to support countries. Because the ultimate aim is to support countries to have better information on food security for better policies. And those policies aim at reducing hunger at national and subnational level. It's not only national level, but mainly at subnational level, because we tend to forget about policies at subnational level. Many countries, I just give you an example of Thailand, where we recorded a 6% prevalence of undernourishment. So everybody was happy, but when you look behind at subnational level, you see there's still some problem in certain regions. So this is the use of having information at subnational level. And the only data that can give us an idea of a good picture of subnational level is the national household surveys. So there are 2 main mechanisms at country level which we need to exploit for countries to take actions. The food balance sheet should give us an idea about national level, and the household surveys will give us more detailed information on at subnational level. So this is the aim of FAO, to capitalize on these two national and government-owned mechanisms to derive quality, consistent, and timely food security information for policies. So this is my objective, is to get those information out, to support countries to get those information, but there is one important step that needs to be done, is to make the policymakers aware of this decision and how this information flows, and how this information can improve policies for more targeted intervention programs and better resource allocation. And in so doing, we know that the ultimate of zero hunger can be reached, because there is a big program on zero hunger which has been launched in the Rio 2012, so that we are targeting zero hunger in the world. It's far ahead, but we don't think we will reach that zero hunger, but at least we reduce hunger in the world, at country level. So this morning I will just make a quick summary on what we talked yesterday, especially on the important indicator of prevention and management, which is very, very important, and it includes three major parameters that relate closely to the components of food security. So, and there are three main measures of food security, the pillars of food security, and as a basis of this, we can develop more indicators under those three pillars. And we will see how we can improve those data, because you have to understand that many countries do not put emphasis on analysis of food, agricultural food data. But they do have it. All countries, I mean, many countries do have agricultural food data. But unfortunately, those agricultural food data, they are with different institutions. Like Ministry of Trade and Commerce, we've got the trade data, Ministry of the Nutrition Department with the nutrition data, Agriculture will get food crop production, NSU will get consumption data. So all these are spread around among institutions. And most countries have not been able to get them all together. So it is good that we, as I feel, the neutral partner, and we, I guess, with collaboration, I'm proud that I've been here for those 2 days, and we look for collaboration with IRRI to push for that, to push to encourage countries to get all those partners, both users and producers of data, to sit together to use the maximum information available at country level for better policies. So this morning I will just make a review of the, very quickly, so about the FAO indicators, which have been very widely disseminated through our FAO-SOFI indicators. And as Michael said, these figures are very important for government and for donors also. Because donors supported countries, I've seen many examples, in the light of the rate of prevention and management at country level. So it's important, it's an important indicator which countries should look into and use it. How we talk about the concept of food and nutrition security, then the parameters for estimating NDG hunger. Sources on type of data, the indicators of food and nutrition security. Nowadays, nutrition has become on top of agenda because many countries, in spite of using diet energy measure, but now they're moving the quality of diet to find out about the consumption of protein, especially protein, which is very essential for the development of children, for the children and women, especially in the fight of malnutrition. And then also there's some important demand to have information of minerals. As I said, not consumption, but we can calculate the minerals availability, vitamin A, vitamin C, iron, zinc, iodine. All these are very important minerals that the human body needs in the fight of the health. And then we can talk about the level of food security that has been done by from the NHI, from National Food Service. And then some conclusion what how we need to go forward. So maybe some of the slides we already discussed yesterday. Okay, we discussed it when we were talking details, the methodology, the framework of the prevention of nourishment. I don't know what happened by. Okay, so we have two major indicators which are interrelated. In fact, as I mentioned yesterday, the World Food Summit, we, FAO, launched the first hunger indicator to reduce the number of undernourished people by half by 2015. This was recommended at the World Food Summit in 1996. Then was followed by the MDG goal in 2000, where they say that we have to halve the proportion of people who suffer hunger. And this is the main objective of many countries, to reduce the proportion of people who suffer from hunger. And this is normally called the prevalence of undernourishment. And as we know that many countries, in fact in many countries in Asia, they have been able to achieve that indicator. But Philippines has not achieved, unfortunately. Philippines, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, there are few countries. In India, China is on the track of doing it. So these are the two indicators. And as I mentioned yesterday, it's just a log-normal distribution where we have a distribution of data energy, because we measure food in the data energy, because data energy is a resulting consumption of fat, protein, carbohydrate, alcohol, and fiber. And it is a uniform measure of food. We don't measure food into grams. We can have grams of rice, but we don't have grams of food. This is why we need to understand that well. Measurement of food is not in grams. The best measurement of food is data energy. This has been done almost many decades to show that the amount of food was very sufficient or not in terms of data energy. But for individual, in terms of quantities, it's better to refer to single food items like rice, sugar, wheat, oils, milk, all these things. So, just to refresh what we did, this proportion of the population below the minimum data energy requirement, they are classified as food deprived population. That is, they are not consuming the minimum, the daily minimum requirement, because each individual has a minimum data energy requirement per day. So we use that log-normal distribution to calculate the proportion of people consuming 9 times the minimum dietary energy requirement. So, so the concept, we use a concept of food and nutrition security to derive in fact, the prevention of nourishment, as I mentioned, is an index using three major indicators. And the first indicator is on the food supply, it is food availability, which normally we associate that dietary energy supply with the food availability. But we can use also the dietary energy consumption. But normally the best indicator to evaluate, to estimate the prevention of nourishment is dietary energy consumption. But unfortunately, the dietary consumption is not possible to obtain regularly and for all countries. And everyone is using as a substitute for dietary energy consumption, the dietary energy supply, which is derived from the food balance sheet. And I guess many of you are familiar with the food balance sheet, which FAO is estimating every year for all countries. Then the second pillar, which is for the food access, the indicator that is used from food access is the inequality of food consumption, which is a coefficient of variation of dietary consumption. So this we can obtain from the national household surveys. And then the third indicator that we use with the prevalence is the food utilization, which is normally associated with the requirement of the individual. And we use the minimum dietary energy requirement. But we can also calculate the average dietary requirement or even the maximum dietary energy requirement. But each three measures, they are associated to different concepts. The minimum helps to calculate the prevention of nourishment, whereas the maximum helps to calculate the obesity in the population. But FAO is not interested with the obesity. Obesity is a problem of the World Health Organization. So we concentrate ourselves from the side, the lower side, the minimum dietary requirement. So as I said, these three indicators come from different data. So the food balance sheet, the energy consumption supply, DES, come from the food balance sheet. And you see food balance sheet is very important for a country, both in the calculation of the estimation of the prevention of nourishment and also for the country planning purposes to see if there are shortages or surpluses of food and which food item needs to be increased in terms of production or imported from other countries. Then the second parameter, the coefficient of variation, these are derived from national household surveys. And the minimum dietary energy requirement, this is derived from anthropometric data of the country. And on the basis of international dietary energy requirement norms defined by WHO and all these nutrition experts. Okay. So we go into a little bit in detail about the dietary energy supply, which come from the food balance sheet. So as I mentioned, we need that value of dietary supply for every country and every year. So these are only data that can be obtained regularly from countries every year. In fact, FAO sent questionnaire to the Ministry of Agriculture to collect information on crop production, to collect data from the Customs Department of each country, and liaise with WTO, World Trade Organization, to get data on trade. So, with that information, FAO used a methodology, the methodology of supply and utilization account to compile the food balance sheet. So it is very important that countries should be aware how to compile, how to prepare a supply chain account and compile the food balance sheet. But unfortunately, many countries of the world is not able to do that due to lack of tools, I guess, lack of tools and proper methodology to make estimation of the production, because these are very costly to do it, to do those estimation and to compile. So this gives you an idea what are the components involved in arriving at the food, compiling the food balance sheet. So we have the gross production, we have to subtract harvest loss. So we get net production, then we have to add stocks, the beginning stock. Then we have to add imports of imports. This gives us the gross food availability. We minus export, we minus feed, we minus seed, we minus post harvest loss. So for all these components, we need to have information. Not to know this, we have to know this, we have to know this. You see how many components of food that we need to collect, that the country needs to collect to have a perfect, improved food balance sheet. So with this, we got the net food availability. And then we have to minus ending stock. We have to minus non-food uses. Then we got the household consumption. So you see, to have this consumption, but this is at national level, right? Not at the national level. Then we have to minus the household waste, and then minus non-human consumption to get the human food consumption. So you see, you have many issues that we need to have data individually. What I can tell you, we don't normally, this one we don't have. In the household waste, we don't know about waste at the household level. But we can assume that for many countries, we don't have it. That household waste high value, but in some countries it's very high. Then also we don't know about the. This we can know, non-human consumption we can know. But the thing is that when doing a food balance sheet, it cannot stand alone by itself. It cannot stand alone by itself because we need complementary information. If you look at this, there are so many information that we need to complement with other sources. Other sources, especially I would say, the household surveys. Because household surveys can give us this one, the non-human consumption. The non-human consumption means that when the food comes to the household, the food is not necessarily, the raw food acquired is not necessarily consumed by the household. Sometimes some food is given to animals, to pets, to animals for feeding, and sometimes they are given to other people. So other people, or sometimes such food are used for business. That is, the household will cook some cakes and sell it. So this means that it is for non-consumption, it is used for business. So the outlay of food is a little bit more complicated when you look at it in a detailed sense. And when you get in the detailed sense, to have a perfect food accounting, normally the food balance sheet is an accounting method. What goes in, what goes out, and finally what is remaining. So we need to have details on each and every component which goes in the food, normally I'll call it the food outlay. If you have any question, you can ask me. Yeah?
What do you mean by harvest loss there? Because usually what is reported is already gross production, net of harvest loss. Then why do we deduct again harvest loss there?
now there's an issue which is coming down, which is very prominent. During the production itself, we have some losses.
Yes.
We have some losses. You see, in many countries, what happens, the producers of food, they keep some food for their own consumption. And this food, they keep it on the field for their own consumption, but with time, some may be lost. Some may be lost. So that
No, that's not what I mean. Because what is reported is gross production already net of harvest loss. Unless what you report is the gross production when the, say for instance, paddy is still in the field, then you will have harvest loss. But usually what is reported is already net of harvest loss. I agree with the post-harvest loss. Maybe after milling, then you will have some difference. But what is your gross production and what is your harvest loss? Can you clarify?
maybe what was saying that harvest before the gross production. Because when you get the figure of gross production, you already account for the harvest loss.
Yes, but
You
how
do
do
that.
you get that? What countries are reporting and already say in bags or kilogram or tons of the product? So that is already net of harvest loss. So why you are double deduction?
As I say, what you are trying to tell me that the harvest should already be included in gross production.
Yes.
Once you have this,
But say for instance in the Philippines, I will give a specific example. The paddy, the production that is reported is already net of
net
harvest
of
loss.
harvest loss.
So why will you still include it
Okay.
there? You cannot get
Okay.
gross production when the paddy is still in the field.
No, this is a new concept that has been
Yeah, that's what I'm questioning.
Yeah.
The new
It's
concept.
a new concept that has been recently come in because, as I said, there are some losses during the production itself. Maybe we are not well get the name of loss. We can say that it is a production
But
loss.
how will you
something.
get the gross production data?
No, we can.
There is a post-harvest not there.
No, sometimes you know, FAO
That's the traffic.
is FAO is redoing all these concepts recently.
Yeah, but that's why I'm asking.
Well, I think that could be the difference between area planted and area harvested. Okay, that also
Yeah, there's that loss there.
because either it's a drought or whatever the part of the area is not harvested. So
That's why I
could
said they
go
keep it-
towards a pre-harvest.
They keep it for own production or for future sales.
But that should not be for.
No, I agree with you. Maybe the wording is bad. But the sequence is good. You have a loss at this level. Okay? But normally it's not that big. Not that big.
I don't think you have that.
Yeah, you excuse me, I am not an expert in food balance sheet. I'm becoming an expert. Maybe with your question, with your suggestion, I will become an expert. I was not I never worked on food balance sheet. I work a little bit like different concept, but I was forced to work on food balance sheet since I did a work for Thailand. Now I am.
Do the FAO stat has area planted, area harvested?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, the
Area planted and harvested.
area planted, they understand. They do have it. Yeah.
So that should be the.
That could be called.
So they should have changed it.
No, it's good that we discuss and then maybe not only we discuss, we should know the source of getting the data, which is very important. The source of getting that loss, because I said the harvest loss may be the wrong thing, but what's the loss at this level? Okay?
So that's someone else had a question. She's had software. So.
Gross food availability, you must include the smuggle. Food,
Yeah, yeah.
which is substantial.
Yes.
The cross-border trade. Illegal cross-border trade.
No, you see, this is This is apparently the perfect schema. But you see here we don't have that part of own production at the household level. You see, we don't have that part of, you see, there should be the own production at household level. Because in many countries, and there is a high percentage of own production food, which is not recorded anywhere else. No, it's recorded in household survey, but it's not taken into account here. In many countries, very substantial. So we need to have own production here.
Yes, I have a question. If you go to USDA, they also have a food balance. They have area harvested, yield, production, and the total food consumption, ending stock, export, imports. So they don't have all this detailed stuff. They don't have it because there is no data there. Okay?
Exactly, that's why I said sometimes I'm just putting a schema here. It could be exhaustive or not, but as I say, if something is missing, I know perfectly. Own consumption is not, own production at household level is not captured here. Simply, sometimes we don't have data. As you say, the smuggled good, there's other thing that we need to know. We studied that is trans-border trade. Trans-border trade is not there. And this is not recorded because we don't have data. We don't have data. So there are still many limitations on having a good food balance sheet for many countries. For countries like my country, it's an island, we can have a good food balance sheet because there's no that smuggled good or trans-border. Maybe transborder also we can have it because many ships, many countries come in the sea and fish, make the fishing and then disappear. These are smuggled, no smuggled fish. So coming back to the food balance sheet, I say just to calculate the food availability per country and every year, normally expressed in the nutritive value. So now you have to understand, it's an important aspect here that, as I mentioned, the food quantities are expressed, the total, the net food is expressed in nutritive value, that is protein, fat, carbohydrate, and finally, their energy. So it is important that all countries should have a food composition table. But unfortunately, this is not the case. Many countries don't have a food composition table. And this is a problem to have a good balance sheet, food balance sheet.
What is the FAO doing about this?
You should be here yesterday. You missed that discussion of yesterday. So I will not repeat the again.
So we did have a program, 2005, 2006, to develop food composition tables. And there is a ASEAN food composition table, but Philippines has its own national. So the idea for ASEAN is that a country that does not have its own could use the ASEAN table. SARC also, the Association of South Asian Countries, has its own food composition table. But many countries are finding that it's not enough, that they want more detail. They want a country-specific food composition table.
You see? Okay, go ahead.
My question actually follows what Helia was saying. I wonder whether no data is better than bad data.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe without data, world is better off rather than having the bad data. Because my thing is, we know how this data collected. FAO or USDA said, the data is not this. We all use that. Even all countries use that for planning purpose. It's very important. Remember, the FAO data is extensively used. That's the only source. There is no other source here. We don't have the alternative. Everybody says bad data, still we all use it. I wonder whether the FAO really seriously thinking about,
In the Philippines, we have an additional problem. The Food and Nutrition Research Institute, which gathers the data on
Nutrition.
nutrition. They won't allow outsiders to use the raw data. This is a battle that has been going on for many years. And the economists are dying to get the raw data. But FNRI, what did they say? When we finish analyzing the data, but they are so undermined. And so the battle is still going on. You can't use the data until they have produced
Report.
their book. When I said this 2 years ago, the director of the Food and Nutrition Institute handed me
Wait a minute.
the book,
Who is the person, the name is?
but they won't allow access to.
Now, I don't know. I know that they don't give data. I know that because
They have the
they
data.
have the data and NEMA can justify that. In fact, I fought personally to have the data in 2003. They did not give me that data. I don't know why. I don't know why they don't give the data. It's not after the report. They never give the data. They never. I don't know who among you have been able to get data from FNRI.
I think we are selling.
No, we're not selling it.
Height? Is that height?
No, it's a
It's
it's
an
a nutrition survey.
Oh, nutrition survey.
It's the food and nutrition.
Yeah, because when we analyzed the data of San-Free, they did a subsample, they did a sample of the food, of the National Household Survey, they did a nutrition survey. We wanted to have this data to merge, to see, to make it more realistic. They did not want to do this.
And some of the findings that they have analyzed are so fascinating in terms of the socio-economic
No, as I'm saying,
aspects.
there is a problem of data. There is a problem of data in many institutions. They don't allow us to have access, so they don't want to give us. This is a big issue. This is a big issue at the international issue at country level. It's not only for Philippines, there are other countries like this. So this is a challenge that we need to look into.
I'll make a suggestion, and that is that we do have additional time after the presentation for discussion about interesting research questions, data gaps, areas of potential collaboration between FAO's regional office and IRRI. So we could let Seeva go through and outline the process and the different components. And if you can all keep your ideas about your own personal research, how it might, where it would impact on that, then we can come back after the break and have a wider ranging discussion, if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, so what I was laying stress on, the nutritive value. Because FAO now, what he was using the food, the nutrient values date backward in 1960s. I'm telling you a secret. So normally it should be country specific. In fact, when I did the work in Thailand, we used the food composition of Thailand, and we saw many weaknesses. So this is also one way to improve the data of food balance sheet. And also, there's the second aspect of limitation of food balance sheet is the population data. The population data is a big debate that has been going on and on, because you need the population data to get the per person per day value. The issue is that we rely on the UN population data. Apparently, UN population data is doing a very good work, having a long series of data, having up-to-date information. But I know how things are. We don't, UN population don't use properly, I say properly, the data of the country. And I've been working in my country. I know I did population data. I know the data at country level is more reliable. It's more reliable because they use accounting by vital statistics. They come up with more reliable figures. But UN don't use population data. They use their own projections. It's not the data. It's projections. They use model, they change all these factors of mortality, morbidity, all these things to come up with some long-term series of projection, estimated projection. And FAO is using that. And there have been big discrepancies, there have been a lot of debates by countries themselves to justify that the UN data is not the true data. So this also is a big issue, but what an advised country, when country compile their food balance sheet, they use their own population data. It's simple. Don't rely on UN population data. There was a big, I don't know, things have not been settled for Bangladesh. Bangladesh, they reduced the population by 17 million UN. Many countries come and complain, why is different? Why is different? I can't explain. And this is a very important issue of population data. And it affects the value. It affects the value. When it affects the value, it affects also the potential enrichment. Because the DES is a major component in arriving at a reliable figure of the prevention of enrichment. So if that figure is wrongly calculated or under or overestimated, it has a direct impact on the prevention of enrichment. So these are the different components that we need to look into and find the best way of getting quality data and reliable data. Yes. So I just come up with all these those components of food utilization account. But as I said, it is very important to know to get data from all these components. So the second indicator is about the variation, the inequality of access, which is derived from the household surveys having the distribution of food consumption. So we know that the food access, it has different components influencing the inequality of food access. We have income. So the variability in diet energy, access of diet energy, is caused by income. The first major factor is income. Having better income, it influences the access. Then you have the biological factor. Biological factor means the human body, what the requirement is. If you don't require food, you will not eat food. But if you require more food, you have to eat more food. It's the body, biological factors. Then you have the seasonal variation. Seasonal variation means the variability of the food. If the food is not available in the country, you can't eat that food. So this is a very important component of seasonal variation over time. Because you will eat some type of fruits, I can let me take some fruits because it's available, if not, you don't eat. So normally the variability is caused by the availability of the food. Then you have other sources such as your expenditure pattern, whether you like the food or not. There is temperature. In hot season, you will consume some type of food. In cold season, you have to consume different type of food. So there are other factors, but as I said, we don't have information on those factors. We know what the factors are, but unfortunately, it is not easy to get information on those factors. So coming back to the variation, you will see we all only include two factors. The income component, the variation of income, which you can measure through the distribution of data by income classes, and then through some research, we have been able to capture that variation due to requirement, to biological factors. So variation due to requirement. And we have seen in many countries it approximated 20% of the variation. So to obtain the variation of dietary consumption, we have two components. One due to income and one due to the biological factors. And then the third parameter I say is a component of food utilization, which is the requirement of the human body, the individual. So the requirement is derived according to the WUN norms on the energy requirement. And this has been developed by some experts over time and have been reviewed regularly. The last revision was done for that too. So these are those norms that we use. There are different formulas that refer to different age and sex group. So we can calculate the minimum data requirement with some specific input of the country, such as population, age, sex, social structure of the country, the birth rate, the mortality rate, that's all. And the eye data, which is very important. So as I mentioned, the sources, the default sources of food data in a country are several. That's why I say this relates to different institutions. And as you mentioned, some institutions just keep the raw data, keep the data for them, and we are not able to access to get better data on agriculture food to come up with some good indicators. So the administrative record is those quantitative. Then now the population census, which normally is done by the statistical office. The agricultural census and surveys. Agricultural census sometimes is being done regularly, sometimes they are not done at all. And then we have household surveys, which are done purposely to capture the crop production on some. That also you are limited in terms of coverage of crops. Sometimes you are limited in coverage of geographical areas. Then you have household surveys, which are very important to look at the consumption. Then you have special surveys that normally done for specific crop. And then you have the nutrition surveys, which some countries, fortunately the Philippines is doing that regularly, but many countries don't do nutrition surveys. Sometimes it's they rely only on the international organizations such as UNICEF or the WHO to do the mixed survey or the DHS survey. So now, just to explain to you the difference of the two types of data that could be used to obtain the preventable nourishment. We have here using the DES, the food balance sheet, and then we have here using the household survey data on dietary consumption. In fact, the best way to measure undernourishment is using consumption data. Consumption data relying on household survey data. So your consumption, you get your CV, equality of food access, and you can get your minimum data requirement from the survey. So this is the best way to calculate the preventable nourishment. And the advantage of using that, you can get it at according to subnational level, by geographical area, by urban, rural, by district, you can have it if your sample is large enough. But as I mentioned, this data is not regularly obtained by all countries. Some countries do the survey regularly every year, some do it every 5 years. So we don't have a regular data for all countries. Whereas for DES, FAO is calculating the food balance sheet, and then FAO can have that measure every year for all countries. That's why we are monitoring the preventable nourishment using this type of data, food balance sheet. But countries, if a country are both, you can do it. But this one is better. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, we have two types of food data. The one used at country level to compare the PS, and the one to do the food analysis using consumption data. So these are two, I can say, complementary set of data that are very useful to improve the quality of data of food security information at country level. So in this case, what we need to do, as we have seen, there are a lot of challenges in getting a good food balance sheet. So one of the challenges is to have better crop production estimation methods and tools. Because many countries they don't have the tools, they don't have the resources to do it. And maybe, and also food balance sheet, why many countries are not able to do the food balance sheet, they don't have the necessary tool. I guess it's an important, it's an essential way to give all countries a standardized tool for them to use to derive to compile the food balance sheet. And by the way, for food security from household surveys, we already have a tool of IRRI, which is a collaboration of World Bank and NGO to do a comprehensive food security analysis. So we have this, but there are many initiatives to support countries of the food balance sheet. But this has not been widely spread out. But this has been spread out widely. Many countries have been able to adopt this tool, and they are doing it. But this one, there's much things to be done in supporting countries to get the food balance sheet. So some conclusions that I would like to discuss with you. We perfectly know that all countries have good data, good data of food and agricultural data. But as I mentioned, those data are spread out to different institutions, but not properly put together and reconciled to our good information, good food security information. Then we need to build capacity to compile FBS. We need to do that. And as you said, FAO have not been able to do that for a long time, but now apparently there are some initiatives, especially a global strategy to improve agricultural statistics in world agricultural world statistics. So there are initiatives in that line. But when they will do it, I don't know. But the initiative to build capacity to compile FBS. And as I said, while compiling FBS, we need to reconcile with the food consumption from household surveys. Because it's a complementary. They're complementary, and myself, I've checked a few. With countries that have been working, I've checked the data compiled by FAO, but on SBS, I checked the data on the consumption. There are a lot of inconsistencies for some items, some major items. So this reconciliation helps to improve both the food balance sheet and also the consumption data. And I said the own production data, which is captured from national surveys, must be used to supplement the production data as estimated from the crop surveys or some other means. And we have to improve or standardize the estimation method of crop production. Many countries, they do have some method, but sometimes the method differs from each other and the data are not consistent. And as I mentioned again just before, we need to be a country, a tools to compile the food balance sheet, because it's so complex that we have seen the different components entering the accounting. So we need to have a good tools to support countries in getting harmonized food consumption tables. And then I come back again to the institutional collaboration. There should be a strong institutional collaboration for all institutions involved in collecting agricultural food data. Nobody can keep the data in their own drawers or do their own analysis, but we need to get them all together and get proper information. And those information should be also use. Because I stop here, if you see my presentation stop at producing information, but that is one step in the beginning. So we have more to do to make policymakers aware of this information for evidence-based policies, which is very important. The evidence-based policies using those information. So this is my end of the presentation this morning. And if you have any question, we can discuss them, please.
I see that you talk about data, but isn't data so expensive to collect? Like in the case of USDA, they are cutting down on collecting data now because it's so expensive to collect these data. That the policymakers, on one hand, have to fight the budget deficit, on the other hand, have to talk about food nutrition and availability and those kind of data, which you're saying that all the national governments should go ahead and do household surveys so they can get the information, bring it back to the table so they can make policy. So what is the role of FAO in all of this case? How do you say to the government of the Philippines, hey, you need to put a lot of money into this survey and then we can design policies for you, or your people can then look at the balance sheet and come up with the accurate measurement of nourishment and blah, blah, blah. It's very hard, it's challenging, isn't it?
Yes, it is, but don't associate FAO. FAO has never supported countries in collecting data.
Right.
It's not the mandate, and I can say FAO is a poor institution. So coming back to that, if you see, I've been working I've been experience in data collection, in data processing analysis, and working with countries. You see, if you look back in the last century, many countries did not collect, did not have regular collection method, even for population data, even for artificial census, even household surveys. But since the MDG goal have been launched, there have been many efforts both by international donors and at country level to collect data.
Right.
And we cannot escape from that. We cannot escape from not having data. We should have data to do evidence-based strategies. So apparently what I've seen, there have been a great move to collect data more regularly and more efficiently. World Bank has been supporting countries. In fact, World Bank not only support countries in terms of finance, it has support countries given the questionnaires. Given the questionnaire, so there have been a lot of resources put both at national and international level to collect data. Okay, so this is one issue that I've seen it, and you see there are many countries before were not collecting the household surveys. Now they are collecting household surveys regularly. Even I've seen myself, many countries are doing it every year. Every year, many countries. So this has become a regular feature of data collection. But you are right. As I said, there is an institutional problem in many countries. Many countries have a problem because they just duplicate the data collection.
Right.
So it should be justified that the whole institution in the country should work together to have a common data collection mechanism.
Right.
Indonesia is doing that. But it should be supported by, I guess, international organization.
Right.
But unfortunately, FAO is not doing it. And ILO, you see, over time, as I've been talking to people a few months back, you see what international organizations have been doing, I can say, 40 years back, has led to many improvements at country level. But what has been done recently, the researchers has caused bad things to countries in terms of resources, in terms of knowledge, in terms of data collection, in terms of application also. If you imagine the CPI Consumer Index, review surveys, national accounting, all these methods have been devised in the early 60s, 50s, and countries have appropriated them. But nowadays, with all this digital goal, prevention of malnourishment, all these food security, countries are not able to appropriate them.
Mm.
This is, I myself, I can't understand that. Why what has been done before cannot be repeated now with different indicators.
But in some of the cases, it would be easier, like you said, if the World Bank questionnaire could be taken and say, go to IRRI and say, replicate this thing for countries around here, go to EcoSat in India and say, can you do it for Bangladesh and India and other places. So it would be easier to implement same standards questions with slight deviations in there, giving the money to these kind of organizations and let them do it rather than going through the national governments, which are more bureaucratic to understand these things and then come up with the whole sum of money. Maybe an alliance is what I'm trying to say would be clear.
I will not go into this line. You see, as I just mentioned, what has been done 40 years back has been more beneficial to countries.
Right.
Because you see, I have been supporting countries doing household surveys, giving regulation, instruction, a manual, even discuss the questionnaire. Even there are two, my personal knowledge, I know that I have been supporting countries in household surveys and labor force surveys. And these two surveys are well anchored in many countries and used. Okay? But what World Bank and other nations is doing now, those surveys is not well anchored in any countries. Because the way they do it. World Bank comes with a questionnaire, it gives you do the work, and then it takes the data and they do the analysis. There is no capacity building. But this, you should have capacity building country. So this is the missing link. What is being happening those past decades? There is no proper capacity building. So this is the missing link.
What is the connection of your effort to the global harvest, global hunger index being developed by IRRI, where the definition of malnutrition starts during the first 1,000 days?
Yes, yes.
That's now a more restrictive definition of malnutrition. Although we say things are not good, on the other hand, there are overlapping efforts. Why couldn't you guys get together? Each one will come up with his own and encourage the countries to do their own collaboratively. And
You're right, I agree with you, I'm perfectly supportive what you say. You see, I know, I've been in the international arena, I know how things are being done. You see, if we want to show, in fact the world is like this, they want to be visible in the global sense.
oh yes,
This is the thing that they want to do. They want to be visible. Forget what the impact on countries, what country will do, what the country needs to do. No, they want to be visible. So the global hunger index has been divided by history using other indicators. That indicator is being used in the hunger indicator. They use the malnutrition, so it's just to be visible. And as they also go on the same line, they want to make it, that we call the composite index. They want to make a composite index to show they are visible. That's the only objective of the international evaluation. Which for me, I've been working in Excel for a long time, I know it's useless. It's useless for policies.
3 MDGs. One is the undernourishment, the other one is the child
Malnutrition.
mortality, and the other one is
So,
underweight.
you see-
And underweight, as I explained yesterday, is a compromise indicator as well.
Now there's a tendency to go to composite index to make the institution be visible. This is the attitude that they are adopting. But they are not adopting an attitude that they have to support countries let the countries derive their own simple indicators, I'm telling simple indicators for them to do policies. You do policies not on visibility or campus index. You do policies on simple evidence-based information. Like I gave an example yesterday about vitamin A. Tanzania in the national plan, they say that the government say that they need to increase vitamin A among the population. And nobody can assess that. And fortunately, we were doing some work, and we came up with that indicator that vitamin D has increased, and we were very happy. But when they look at the detail of the data, they see yes, at national level it has increased, but in some localities it has not increased. So these are simple indicators that are beneficial and useful to policies, not compass indicators that international organization is trying to give to countries. Just ranking countries, you're the first or second or third, etc. And you know, I'm telling you one thing, I've been in many countries don't care about it. Whatever you tell them which order they are, they don't care. They need information at the country level to make simple policies for the benefit of the population. So this is, we have to see simple and do simple things at country level. But unfortunately, international organization, they have to be visible.
Okay, Seeva, thank you very much. I think very interesting presentation. You know, we are all interested in your data. You know, there is no alternative.
Unfortunately,
FAO is the place to go for this data. Nobody has the capacity. Forget about IRRI. IRRI is nowhere in the thing. As you said, they create this index using FAO data. You know, so ultimately, everybody comes to FAO to get this data, which is very critical. I don't think there is any other alternative anybody else can do it. Yeah, you can have alliance, what Ashok said, IRRI, ICRISAT, all these international organizations to help you in collecting the data. But it should be FAO's mandate or mission to provide this data as the global agriculture organization. My question is, you know, what I like about FAO data is bad, but I also like the FAO staff being very open. You talk to any FAO staff, they're very open. They openly discuss the weakness in the data. You know, you talk to anybody, not only you, I've been to your division, statistics division, Haluk, you know, that time you were there, they're all critical about the data. Is there anything being done? Because if FAO doesn't have this data, I will not go to your website. There's no need. I'm not interested in what you guys are doing on technical capacity building on this thing. Because a lot of money you guys spent on that thing, and very small amount spent on the statistics. And this is I think bread and butter should be for FAO, because 90% of your traffic to your website they go because of the data you have, the extent of the segregated data you have. Is there any efforts or talk within FAO that we need to have manpower, we need to divert resources from other divisions to expand the statistics group so that we provide some sort of, you know, definitely this data is very hard to get. You can always question and criticize, but again we use it, you know, to improve whatever you are doing as somehow can build the capacity of the national partners. I think the main problem FAO has is the resources. You don't allocate a lot of resources for this group. Statistics, food balance sheet, or whatever, whoever is collecting the data, they don't have the resources to do a good job, I think. Is there any talk on that? Because I know the Gates Foundation had discussed this with FAO. I think they gave some money to improve the data, FAO balance sheet, FAO stat, other things. Is there anything happening with FAO?
no, in fact, the major challenge the major initiative that is underway is a global strategy to improve cultural statistics.
Is this funded by Gates Foundation?
Gates promised to give money, but up to now I'm told that they are not given money, but we got some money, £25,000 from DFID. This is operational. But being a statistician, being on the field for a long time, the way you are doing it is useless. Because what you are doing exactly now, in fact, there's a regional implementation group in Bangkok looking for Asia. They are now making assessment of what country needs in terms of agricultural statistics. So this will take 5 years. Okay? So after 5 years, they will make a report of the assessment they did on countries, that is also selected countries. So when they get the report, now they say they will look for funding. Then they will look for funding, then they will look for research to do, to meet the needs of those countries, to meet the need of the country that is. So I guess that will take another 5 years. And if they got money. So for me, I'm very pessimistic on that. What will happen? By the time I already leave the place.
I attended the round session in London, right? Yeah, were you there? Like, they were talking about the revision of the FPNS.
Of the yes,
The food value share.
like us. No,
And they have
no. You see, I am a naughty guy.
yeah, this
No, the gallop, you see, the gallop has been introduced to see what happens if when, I guess you know what happened with the figures of the health and emotional. In 2008, they conducted with 1 billion, okay, 1 billion development. So there was a lot of marketing on that, and banners, and 1 billion signatures, all these things. Then in 2000, last year they came up. No, it was not 1 billion. No, not 1 billion. The 1 billion was in 1990. Okay? So, what happened during the symposium last year, and I guess last year, if we lot of good research, somebody did, I don't know, using Gallup, they said no, in 2008 there was not 1 billion, there was less. So, they confirmed. Apparently, it confirmed the figure of what we did last year. So now I was thinking, okay, let's use the Gallup method to calculate the nourishment. So now they're promoting the Gallup method to assess the prevalence of the nourishment. It's not that they are revising every year. No, just prevalence of the nourishment. It's that to assess the prevalence of the nourishment from the perception of the population, which I heard this morning. You are also doing that, the perception method of assessing anger. But for me, I'm not really anything on the perception, but I don't have perception. Because you can perceive today, you don't need food today. Because you are being busy on other things. But perception is a different thing. In fact, I tested that on the risk and vulnerability survey in Laos. I got 10%. 10% people say they are to deprive, which is not possible in Laos. Perception. So perception for me, I don't rely on perception, but they are promoting a perception of voice of anger. It's a kind of method. Any more questions?
We should take a break now.
Oh, the question is a break.
Take a coffee break and then come back if you want to continue the discussion. You're more than welcome.
Well, there are many things that, just to summarize, there are many things to improve. But unfortunately, as John said, he wanted to do, there's not the drive. There's not the drive to do it. Simply because, the thing is that, sorry, I have to say that, I mentioned that yesterday, in the statistics division, we don't have statisticians. We are economists. Economists have a different way of thinking compared to statisticians. So I am a statistician by profession and I'm doing university. a long time. I know how things are. And then there's that conception that nowadays everybody is statistician using a computer. You can develop a questionnaire, you can have analytical software, but as I said, you can never replace the data collection. And this is an important tool, important part of the analysis. If you don't have good data, whatever you do, garbage in, garbage out. You can have sophisticated models, sophisticated software, you don't get anything. So nobody can replace that respondent to give you the data. Nowadays, I've seen that people tend, as you mentioned, they tend to be big questionnaire. I don't like a questionnaire. You yourself will not fill a questionnaire 1 hour. And they don't know that. They don't know that. They will sit down and do a questionnaire 100 pages, trying to get maximum from that poor person. You see, these are things that happen. These are things that happen nowadays. That's why we don't understand this from. That's why we fail in our objective to get information. Things are bad now. And because those people with that questionnaire, they will never fill a questionnaire. I always say, somebody who designs a questionnaire, you should fill the questionnaire first and then send it to the respondent. Do you think the full farmer can have time to give you one? No. It might only 3 hours for Philippines. For me, I will tell you, don't need those. And they don't give any money to the poor farmers. For me, somebody comes to me and will tell me, I give you information. Yeah?
We do actually give something.
Well, I remember in my time I tried to give money, but it was not easy, but we gave it some token. Many governments know. They are sure that the people are waiting for them to give information. It's incredible. I mean, when in Sudan, the guy said, it will take 1 day to collect the data. I say, 1 day, you see that people will wait for you to just queue to give you the information, forget it. And the thing that, you see, I have lot of things. The thing that they collect the data, big questionnaire, and they take 1 year to clean it. And they use the word cleaning, right? I've never used the word cleaning in my life. How to clean data? You just for cleaning a room.
Seeva has an expertise and an interest in gender statistics. So after the break, we're going to come back and have a brief discussion on that. For those of you who are interested, and then afterwards, I think Sam will come back and give a presentation on what some of the aspects of his work.
Thank
you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know how I've been able to give you some. No, that's
Kunin natin yung PowerPoint.